Hello and welcome to the Viking Age podcast. My name is Schad. Our co-host Adam Patrick is over here to the left. I'm probably pointing in the wrong direction because everything's flipped and I'm still getting used to YouTube. But welcome. We do this every Monday and Thursday night at 6:15 p.m. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel, The Viking Age. Subscribe, like, comment, do all that fun YouTube stuff so you never miss an episode. And without further ado, my co-host, Mr. Adam Patrick. Adam, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing pretty good. It's a nice sunny day here on the West Coast. I know Minnesota people probably don't feel the same way, but it's
Dude.
it's a 80 degrees here on the final day in February, and it's nice. It's very nice. And not to rub it
I
into
just
anybody
checked.
in Minnesota, but
No.
I have to.
We take no offense right now because I just checked my watch. It is 6:22 local time and it is 43 degrees.
Oh
Like
wow.
I got an Apple Watch for Christmas kind of as my own little thing. And like for the first time ever, I'm seeing green on the little temperature thing and it just makes me so happy inside. So you brag about 80 degrees all you want. That's great. I love this time of year where it just starts to warm up. You're feeling better. Like it's all good. We'll get to 80 eventually and we'll enjoy that too. So that we run the gauntlet here in Minnesota.
For sure. Yeah. Right
You're
now, eight,
speechless.
eight,
You're like,
right,
how is he happy at 46 degrees?
yeah, right now 80 to you is 40. So, you're breaking out the shorts. So, I understand for sure.
So that's enough weather talk. I mean, this
Yeah.
is a Midwestern team podcast,
Yeah.
obviously, but
Yeah.
what would a Viking podcast be without some mandatory Kirk Cousins discussion,
For
right?
sure.
I was trying to think of this before the show, though. And I think we need to give this a name because every week we got to have something on Kirk because that's the most important decision of the offseason.
Until he's gone.
Yeah, until he's gone. And I came up with some ideas, and they're all based off of soap operas. So I have As the Kirk Turns. I have Bryce Young in the Kirkless. I have Guiding Kirk, which I don't know. General Cousins. And of course, Monday Night Cousins, because wrestling's technically a soap opera for guys who don't admit to watching soap operas. So we could go that route as well.
No
What do you
no
think?
no Kirk of our lives or anything like that.
Oh, Cousins of Our Lives. Although some people would
um
think they would mistake it for a Kentucky reality show. Just like,
yeah.
what is this,
Yeah.
Deliverance? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Um I was brainstorming too, and I thought of, instead of checking in with Kirk, we could do checking down with Kirk. Since,
Ooh.
since although, it's been refuted he's not a dink and dunk kind of guy, we all know he loves to fancy the easy pass to a CJ Ham or a Tyler Conklin in the flat, or even an Amir Abdullah when he was still on the roster. He seemed to be frequently targeted way more than he should have been. So I think we should go maybe checking down with Kirk, every week. Well, maybe we'll create some fancy graphics or something for that, but we can do that, unless you think it should be something else.
Checking down with Kirk kind of sounds. I like that. I think we'll go with it. That's better than
Alright.
anything I came up with.
Okay. Okay.
So, and it's on brand. But the latest in the Kirk Cousins discussion came from Chad Graff of The Athletic, who had a article dropping, which basically described Kevin O'Connell's challenges with Kirk Cousins. He described the options, which is basically sign him to an extension or trade him. But he also offered this note about Mike Zimmer's relationship with Kirk Cousins. And these are just juicy at this point. So, I mean, anything that comes across the wire, we're just going to be like kids. Like when you had two kids at lunch that just like started throwing haymakers across the cafeteria and you didn't jump in, but you just kind of watched like, ooh, they're going to get in trouble. Like, that's exactly what I feel between Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins at this point. But Chad Graff said this. He said that Mike Zimmer complained openly in coaching meetings about Cousins, and some of Zimmer's top lieutenants echoed the sentiment. Zimmer didn't feel the quarterback made enough winning plays, that he didn't take the necessary shots to help lead the Vikings to victory, and that he didn't elevate his teammates. He continues, but that view wasn't shared by everyone. Some, especially in the front office, thought Zimmer didn't handle the situation well. They acknowledged to Zimmer that Cousins isn't a perfect quarterback, but Zimmer's job as head coach was to get the most out of the quarterback, and undercutting his play and coaching meetings didn't help. My first question to you, Adam, are we really surprised by this?
Oh no, not at all. Based on what we know after Zimmer was fired, and even before he was fired, and some of his feelings about Kirk Cousins, we knew that that relationship was not really ever good, pretty rocky, okay at best. It was pretty obvious when the two, what was the Lions game where they won on the last second field goal, and Kirk went over to Cousins and shook him and was like, you like that, and Zimmer's like, basically get your hands off me, I'm gonna
I
rip your
do not
face
like
off.
that. No, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so it was pretty clear when that was made. And yeah, it takes what 4 years for them to have a weekly meeting together, which is probably forced by like Spielman or someone high above. The thing about that though, I think Mike Zimmer gets a lot of blame for that. Not interacting with his quarterback enough over the last 4 years. But there's two people in this scenario. Mike Zimmer does not deserve all the blame. Kirk Cousins could have been like, "Hey, man, like we're gonna do this. Like I'm the quarterback. I'm the leader. I have to do this for this team to be better," and he didn't. Even if he tried or whatever, he didn't try hard enough because you know it's not fair for Mike Zimmer to take all the blame. Yes, Mike Zimmer deserves a bunch of the blame for the way things happened the last 4 years during Kirk Cousins' entire tenure, but Kirk Cousins deserves plenty of blame too. He is the quarterback. He's the highest paid player on the team. He's the guy who's supposed to take this team to the next level and lead this team. But instead, it seems like he's the guy who just punches in, punches out, runs the plays, doesn't make it any too many mistakes, and then goes home when he's done his 9 to 5 day. He doesn't sound like he's some guy who's gonna get there at 4 in the morning to watch film with Mike Zimmer and then stay until like 8 o'clock at night. And you know what? Whatever. That's his decision. But don't put all the blame on Zimmer like he's the reason why this demise happened, because Kirk Cousins deserves just as much blame for these two not getting along as Mike Zimmer. So no, I'm not surprised at all. I'm guessing you weren't either.
No, this is just who Kirk Cousins is. I mean, everything that you said is why people are like, hey, maybe we should get rid of him. Maybe we should try and get an upgrade at quarterback, like all of these things. Because I had Arif Hassan on the Homer Horn podcast, my other podcast,
Mhm.
and he wrote two articles at The Athletic. He wrote one about comparing Kirk Cousins to Matthew Stafford, and he wrote another about just kind of who Kirk Cousins is, like what his tendencies are, all these other things. And one of the things that
He
he
told the
mentioned
truth.
was, yeah, one of those, oh my God, like it wasn't some kind of spinned warped Twitter take. There's research and there
Yep.
were,
Yep.
tea leaves and everything. One of the things that he put on there was that Cousins had an actual room at the Washington training facility that was like an office. It was like an
Yeah.
office cubicle. He had like a
Yep.
leather chair, he had a desk, he had two
Mhm.
monitors. Like
Yep.
I just, that was crazy. And then he also talked about how Kirk, when he got to Michigan State, he was fifth on the depth chart. And one of
Mhm.
the things he talked about was, I didn't want to come in and I didn't want to step on anybody's toes and like overtake the team because I didn't feel like that was my responsibility. And I'm starting to wonder if Cousins kind of fell into that trap with the Vikings, because you think about when he got there, there was a nucleus already established with the
Yeah.
Vikings. There were strong personalities, there were leaders. They had just went to an NFC championship game, and then you throw Kirk in. And the first couple of weeks, Kirk had those really like awkward pregame speeches.
That was
Like
when, yeah,
I
when
wouldn't have
when
been,
Zimmer, not Zimmer, when Everson Griffin went out and they needed a new like speech guy, and Kirk
yeah.
did it, and he clearly practiced in like the mirror the night before, like every single motion he was gonna do, and then it was painfully fake when he's doing his speech.
He's like doing Eminem lyrics, just like, "Hey guys, you only got one shot. You have one opportunity. Make this. Seize everything you wanted. You want
Yeah,
catcher? Let's start."
yeah.
That was a little aggressive for my own voice, but I got 45 minutes to last on this podcast. But I mean, that's just it. Like, you had Dalvin Cook, you had Adam Thielen, you had Harrison Smith, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks. Like, you can name so many other Vikings that are higher on that totem pole than when Kirk Cousins got here. And I think that's really just shaking him up. And it's like rattled him to the point where he won't even call timeout. And like, part of that is, I think there's a little bit of, the Dallas game. It's like, I don't know, Mike, do you want me to call a timeout? I don't know, Kirk, do you want to call a timeout? I don't know, Mike, do you want me to call? I don't know, Kirk, do you want to call that? And it's just like,
somebody's got it.
I'm done. I'm done.
Aaron, like, we hear all the time about Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes or even now Joe Burrow. If something breaks down and they don't get to play in time or whatever, then they make that decision on the field. Like, they don't wait for their coach to be like, okay, yeah, do this. If the, like, what is it, the receiver or whatever, like, in their helmet, like, that went out with Joe Burrow for like a couple of plays or a series once, and he called the whole series. Could you imagine if that happened to Kirk Cousins? He would call. I don't even know if he would call timeout immediately because he wouldn't know if he was allowed to call timeout.
He would be like a lost kid at Target if that happened.
Yeah,
just like, where's my adult? Where's my adult? Can you page my mom? Can you page Coach Zimmer? I don't know what's happening.
And he's been in the league for how
long? This will be his 11th
He'll be going
season,
in the league. He'll be going into his
34.
11th year.
He's a big boy. He's
his 11th year. This is the year. This is the year where things are going to come together. Year 11.
Unleash Kirk. Season 5.
Here we go.
So this week's going to be a big development in this saga, though. And Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell, and Kirk are going to sit down. They're going to discuss a contract. Kirk's probably going to say, give me $40 million. They'll laugh and they'll call Matt Rule for a trade. Is that accurate, you think? Or what do you think happens?
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins and his camp or whatever have shown there have been no signs or hints of him willing to take less money or, take a longer extension so that the team can spread out the cap hits. There has been no sign of that. He wants his money now. He wants to make sure he can get as much big money contracts as possible. So he's not going to take a 5 or 6 year extension to help out his team. He wants the money. And until we're proven otherwise, I don't see how anyone can say otherwise. Because you see on Twitter or whatever, like, oh, he'll take less money. He'll take $25 million a year. No, he will not. He hasn't made $25 million since like 2015. He's not going to do that. I don't want to bring this up really because I hate the subject because it's so divisive. But the second that Kirk Cousins decided to not take the vaccine for COVID or whatever, that's when I was like, okay, this he's not willing to do whatever it takes for the team. And that I felt like that was made pretty obvious when and then he had this whole like spiel or whatever. He had to have a whole press conference to be like, oh, no, it's okay. I got my own thing. Like, if he didn't care what people thought about him, not about the team, about him, then he wouldn't have had a press conference like that. Like when he said that if I die, I die thing, the next day he had to make sure that he had like a breaking press conference to make sure everyone, understood what he meant. When he could just been like, whatever, I said what I said, who cares? But he cares so much about like his public image and his passer rating and his completion percentage. Like the slightest, like, remember when he played so well against the Packers this season and he threw some passes where you're like, ugh, and he almost threw like a game-ending interception. And after the game, everyone's like, after the game, everyone's like,
they won.
Yeah, they won. They beat the Packers, who were the number 1 seed in the NFC. And after the game, everyone's like, "Oh, good job! Like, you were more aggressive this game. Is that something you're going to do in the future?" And Kirk pretty much was like, "No, I'm not. I was way too aggressive. I can't do that anymore." And everyone's like, "But but you just won. You just beat like one of the best teams in the NFL." And he's like, "Nope, too many mistakes." Like, I understand quarterbacks and the quarterback speak like we still made a lot of mistakes on the field, but he was like, "No, I can't play like that ever again. Like, that is inexcusable." So in year 11, I don't expect that to change. I don't know about you.
You mentioned the exact reason why I want to get rid of Kirk, because as a quarterback, if you took away the personality and just threw him in a Madden game, like I'd be like, yeah, I'll play with him. He's got look, he's got all the tools to be successful, but it's between the ears is the problem. You talk about the vaccine and like the fact that he wants every penny possible. Last year was every man for himself on that team. Like nobody cared about the Minnesota Vikings. They cared about getting paid. They cared about their own stats and they cared about themselves. If you want proof of that, Chris Boyd got a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty against the Steelers. And he went and he posted the picture on Instagram. Like, ladies love the gram. Look at this 15-yard penalty. It's like, what are you doing?
Gotta get those likes.
And then you have Dalvin Cook, who, playing with that shoulder injury, pretty tough. You know what I mean? But then he goes up in front of everybody and has the audacity to say, well, I'd do anything to help the team win. You sure about that? Because you didn't get the shot either, dude. Like let's just talk about that here. And then Kirk Cousins as well, like he wound up being the poster child for all these things. And they talked about how some of the players wouldn't get the shot because they thought they'd be looked down on by the higher players of the team. Like that's a culture thing. And if Kirk doesn't want to turn around and do things that are for the betterment of the team, screw him, get him out of here. Like I'm done with it.
Like looked down upon by who? Because Jefferson got it, Daniil Hunter got it, Eric Kendricks got it. Like who is looking down on you? Adam Thielen? Like who cares? Like Brian O'Neill got it.
He's from
like,
Minnesota though.
Yeah,
you know
like
that, right?
Mike Zimmer was like campaigning every day for everyone to get it. Who is looking down on you? Like that, I hear that and I'm like, I don't understand that at all. And the people, one last thing on this, people are like, oh, why does Kirk always get the blame for not taking the vaccine? Because like plenty of other guys didn't take it. And it's like because he's the highest paid player on the team. He's the guy who's going to get all the attention, whether you like it or not. So he's the guy who has the ball in his hands 70 times a game. So he's gonna get this blame and focus, whether people like it or not. And if it's funny people bring up like it's a team game when stuff like this happens. Like, oh, why don't all the other players make up for what he's not able to do or whatever? And then it's like, well, when it comes down to saying Kirk Cousins had a comeback win or whatever, and it's like, well, why is it not a team game then? Like, what's it's only the way that you want to see it, and then I don't know. The I'm just flustered by the constant Kirk stands every day of just twisting things. Like I saw something today about how like Score North is going to have nothing to cover once Kirk Cousins is gone. I'm like, do you understand how any of this works? Like, it's a team game. There's 52 other players on the team. There's clearly plenty to talk about. Dalvin Cook still has a lawsuit against him. Justin Jefferson is amazing. Daniil Hunter could be traded. There's plenty to talk about. But guess what? Kirk Cousins is the highest paid player on the team. He's the quarterback, most important position. So he's going to be talked about the most. If you don't want to listen to it, go somewhere else. You have that ability. So that's my little rant.
Well, while the Vikings are talking to Kirk Cousins' agent at St. Elmo's or some back room at Lucas Oil Stadium, there will be the annual Underwear Olympics. We didn't have it last year. I forgot about that. There was no NFL scouting combine last year, but it is back. I will be parked in front of my couch.
One last thing.
Yeah.
I just want to say, between Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins, I would rather have Jimmy Garoppolo as the Vikings starting quarterback because, and people are like, oh, QB wins. The guy clearly wins wherever he is. He's won like 70% of the games in the regular season, got a 4-2 record in the playoffs. Like he makes mistakes, but that's because he takes chances. Okay? So if Kevin O'Connell can get the most out of Kirk Cousins and take him to the next level, you can probably do that for Jimmy Garoppolo too. So, if there's a choice between the two, if Kyle Shanahan wants to be like, hey, let's trade Garoppolo and I'll get my guy Kirk Cousins finally, because I've always wanted him. Like I've been after him for so long, and Vikes will be like, sure, you can have him. I would be gladly have the Vikings have Jimmy Garoppolo for a year or whatever. So that's the one last thing I wanted to say.
Want to know a big difference? if Jimmy Garoppolo hits Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl, he's got one of these that
Yeah,
Kirk does not have because that
his
game's
and
over.
the team game thing. If his defense, makes one more stop too, he's a Super Bowl champion. So, but he's got the Hall of Fame late game coach and Kyle Shanahan. So he had that going against him too. So
So back to the combine, though. It's going to be Underwear Olympics. It's going to be on NFL Network. People are going to overreact to everything. Adam, who are you most excited to see at the NFL Scouting Combine?
When I watch the combine, I'm never like really watching specific guys unless there's like really just these big name players, which I don't think there really is this draft. There's like some notable guys, but I think they're only really notable to people who cover the sport and cover the draft. But I really like to look at like the whole position groups and then afterwards figure out who stood out the most. So I'm at the combine. I'm gonna be looking at Vikings specifically for interior offensive linemen. I think this is a very important position for them to figure out this offseason. I think it's pretty obvious because Garrett Bradbury is terrible. Ali Udo is pretty terrible last year. And Dakota Dozier, like, you're not going to bring him back. So they need to figure out what they want to do there. We all know about, okay, this is a name, Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa, but he's projected to go pretty high. I think I saw some mocks have him like the top 10 or whatever. But I want to see who else stands out in this group. And, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah comes from two teams, the Browns and the 49ers, who emphasize, building through the trenches. And I feel like he's probably going to do something similar with the Vikings. So that's a position group that I'm going to be keeping an eye on this week. Interior offensive lineman. Then I'm going to be looking at tight ends because Tyler Conklin is a free agent. Irv Smith is coming off a knee injury. And don't really know who else they have there depth wise. And you also have to think, maybe, the Vikings are looking to maybe replace Irv Smith already because he's been a lot of hype, I feel like, and not so much return. And I think he's entering the final year of his contract anyways. So, maybe start thinking about that. I kind of got a sleeper here with this position group, which is running backs, because in 2023, the Vikings can clear almost $8 million in cap space by trading or releasing Dalvin Cook. And Alexander Madison is also a free agent next year as well. So I think they should start thinking about that. Especially because Kene Wangus is right now, he's really still just a special teams weapon or whatever, and maybe he can be more of the offense next year. But at this point, he's just strictly special teams use. So running backs, I'm going to keep an eye on those guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, hey, let's take someone in the second round, and people are like, hey, wait a minute, what are they doing? And then always wide receivers. I think a lot of people like to pay attention to the wide receivers, but specifically for the Vikings, Adam Thielen's not getting any younger. KJ Osborne has made some nice progressions, but are we sure that he can step in and be the next number 2 guy for the Vikings with Justin Jefferson? And whenever Thielen's gone down the last 2 years, their depth has been just not good at wide receiver. So there is one receiver I do like. I saw some clips of him the other day. Is Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. I liked him. Really good route runner. Creates separation with ease, something like Laquan Treadwell was never able to do. And it just reminded me of Stephon Diggs with like how violent his cuts are in his routes. So that's some stuff I'll be watching for in the combine this week. Do you watch the combine like live and stuff, or do you like kind of go back and check out highlights, I guess?
I mean, if I'm around, I throw it on. Like, I
Right,
guess I work during the morning, so I can't
right.
throw it on live. So, I mean, I'll probably just go back, watch, look at some of the results, maybe the RAS scores later, whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, if somebody does something incredible, it's usually on Twitter. So, I mean, I can find out that way, or
For sure,
there's a
for
lot
sure.
of draft analysts that are more
It's
plugged in
what,
than me.
it's prime time this year?
I think
A little
so.
bit. So yeah, so you might even be able to watch it because it's like it goes to like 10 on Friday or something.
They should, you know what I wish they would do? They should like televise the team interviews. Just
Yeah,
see the kids
they'll
like
never do
sweat.
that. They'll
Oh,
never do that.
never. never. But it would be so funny to see. So, you see yourself as a cat or a
Yeah.
dog, and some poor offensive
Yeah.
lineman from like
I was gonna say
Sam
because
Houston State's just like,
the teams will probably get in more trouble than the actual like the prospects because of the questions that they ask. Because we've already heard about all like the terrible questions people have been asked. So if we see those live, they're gonna be like, "Oh, sorry," So yeah, that's never gonna happen. Yeah.
The
Any specific
prospect.
people you're watching?
Yeah, the prospect I'm looking at is Malik Willis. And it's
Right.
because I think he's the toolsiest quarterback in this class. I had Tyler Forness on the Homer Horn, and he
Yeah.
mentioned that in this class, you have to have some conviction with whoever you take. So if that's Malik Willis, who's got a big arm, who's got a lot of mobility, some questions about his accuracy, but I don't care about that as long as he's not rifling passes where the popcorn vendor should be. I totally think he's a guy that the Vikings should trade up for if they want him. The rest of the quarterback class, show me something. Show me that you're on the same level. Show me some tools. Show me some intangibles. Like it's always hard at the combine because you don't have a Aaron Donald sprinting full speed at you while you're making these throws, so you can't really tell. But I think that with the quarterbacks, Sam Howell, there's a lot of questions there because he was really good as his freshman year, but then things kind of went away. And are you Kirk Cousins? Do you need everything perfect for you to succeed? Like, that's a big question for me. Carson Strong has a bazooka attached to his neck, but his knee might be deteriorating. That's a concern for me. Matt Corral's not going to throw. And that is something to me because every highlight I see of his is him running in an RPO. So can you throw? Are you good at this? Like
Yeah.
what do I need to see from you? Like all of these prospects just need to show me something. Kenny Pickett. I still have reservations on the Vikings taking a guy who has a first baseman name. But I think that was a bad joke, wasn't it? But he's got the hands, and
Mhm.
I hear he struggles in cold weather and stuff. Like
Don't
all of
talk to
these
Vikings fans
quarterbacks are
about
kind
hands,
of,
okay? We don't wanna hear about
yeah,
hands. We don't wanna
Dante
hear about
Culpepper
No, we don't wanna
flashbacks.
hear about any hand size. Get that out of here.
I want to look at the entire cornerback group too because
Yep,
they need corners. Like Patrick Peterson, I'd be surprised if he came back. I think he
yep,
wants to, but
yep.
I mean, if he gets an offer from a Super Bowl team, he's going to go there. Your
He should.
cornerback, yeah, oh, absolutely. I wouldn't come back.
No.
Like if I were Patrick Peterson, like I want a ring, man. I'm not
Yeah,
getting it here next year.
yeah,
That might
no.
be tough for some Viking fans to tolerate, but
Go to
I
the
mean
Chiefs or something.
your top corners are Cam Dantzler and Chris Boyd. And I've already mentioned
Or
Chris
Harrison
Boyd.
Hand too. You never know.
If he could stay off the COVID list. He was
Yeah.
on the thing like 5 times last
Yeah.
year. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Just like,
Stay
yeah, I
home.
just
Don't go anywhere.
don't don't go
Yeah,
anywhere.
stay home.
Uh Sauce Gardner, I want to see
Yep,
him a little bit. Daryl
yep,
Stingley Jr. is not going to work out. You got Khalil Elam. I apologize if I
yep,
butchered that first name. Like,
yep.
I think that's a group to watch. And then the edge rushers. Like,
Mhm.
we got DJ Wanham, who has experience in the 3-4. Daniil Hunter could probably be a beast in the 3-4 if they keep him. We probably haven't talked enough about that. But they
Yep,
need some edge rushers. They need mutant freaks that can get to the quarterback. And I
yep,
think this year there's a lot of good ones, especially David Ojabo out of Michigan. You have Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, I believe. I love the combine because I'm going to find out about guys that I don't know about right now. And it's going to excite me. And I'm going to go, that guy, go pick that guy.
yeah. I think maybe linebackers too, like, because they're gonna probably have, like, at least 4 linebackers on the field a bunch of times now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what specific defense they're gonna run because I think, Kevin O'Connell and even, their new defensive coordinator, Ed Donatell, have talked about, their 3-4 might have an extra DB instead of an extra linebacker, just the way that the game's played today. So maybe they won't need as many linebackers, but we don't know if Anthony Barr is coming back. You know, Kendricks, it seems like he's coming back, but does he fit in the 3-4? And so I'll be curious to see, what they think of the linebackers. And do the Vikings take a look at the kickers? Not that you can tell in the combine or whatever, like who's a good kicker and not. But I think that's I don't know.
I
I would not
wouldn't be
advise
against.
against drafting a
Don't
kicker.
draft one. Just don't draft one because I
No.
don't think there's anybody worth it.
No.
But I mean, bring in a UDFA. I
Did
mean, I
Sebastian
would just
Janikowski
challenge
go in
him.
the first round?
He did.
Oh my god.
Al Davis went like crazy, like during the 2000s. Like, actually, that was a 1990 something pick.
It was like 99,
Janikowski was a little bit
2000.
early. Yeah. But like, then he had the Crabtree pick, which no, he didn't take Crabtree. Crabtree went there later. It was Darius Hayward Bay that he
Right.
took. Like
He was
he went
fast.
insane with like, yeah, he just looked for fast guys. Like that
Always.
was his draft strategy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
draft season, baby.
Oh yeah.
So here's something that I can kind of finish off this episode, unless you got something more to say about the combine. Otherwise, we're gonna
No,
move on.
I don't.
All right. Topic number 3, the 2021 rookie class. And I wrote a piece at Zone Coverage just saying we don't know anything about this group. And our own Nick Edlund over at the Viking Age also
Yep.
wrote a 2021 redraft piece. And he already puts out great stuff. But he had 3 picks in his piece that were kind of interesting. He said he would take Davis Mills over Kellen Mond. He said he would take Kendrick Green over Wyatt Davis. And he would take Trey Smith over Jalen Twyman. Now, are you of the ilk that, this class sucks, Spielman whiffed, nobody here is good? Or are you in the mindset like me that said 1 year ago, we were writing everybody off in 2020. We want KJ Osborne off the team. And now he's the best third receiver since Jarius Wright. And we have a couple more contributors. Where do you stand on the 2021 class after the first year?
I'm more on your side as far as evaluating this rookie class, especially because it comes from the Mike Zimmer era where he just is known for burying rookies on the depth chart. Like you have to be like Justin Jefferson didn't start until the 3rd game of his rookie year. Stephon Diggs didn't play at all until like 4th or 5th game of his year. So like rookies on the Vikings during the Zimmer era are typically do not play at least early in the season or until someone gets injured. Brian O'Neill didn't play until like Rashad Hill got hurt or something. I think Mike Hughes was one of the few rookies to play immediately. Coincidence, he was a cornerback. So maybe some favoritism there with Mike Zimmer, but no, I don't look at. I look at 2021 as more of a redshirt season for that rookie class for the Vikings, including Christian Darrisaw, because there's some good things to like about him, but he was kind of ripped on too by Zimmer. When he was kind of hurt in minicamp, and Zimmer's like, "Well, I thought he was supposed to be ready, but he wasn't." So Darrisaw got a quick taste of what Mike Zimmer's all about. It's just hard to evaluate rookies in the Zimmer era. I think I'm still really curious about Wyatt Davis. I mean, the dude was a multi-time All-American at college at Ohio State. It wasn't like he was playing at like the University of Montana or something. This was at Ohio State. So to be an All-American there, I think you gotta be pretty good. And I think he seems like a little humbled by his rookie season. Maybe motivate him a little more to come back and be better. So yeah, I lean more to you as like it's too early to evaluate this draft class, but the redraft picks that Nick made, I have no problem with those either because I mean right now you could say Davis Mills is better than Kellen Mond. At the same time, we really have no idea about Kellen Mond or Wyatt Davis or most of the Vikings rookie class.
I'm really wondering what happened with Kellen Mond last year. Like, I never expected him to like push Kirk Cousins for the starting
No.
job, but the fact that his like crowning achievement last year was Mike Zimmer calling him out after that Packer game where he looked like a deer in headlights after
Yeah.
3 snaps, like it's like what happened there? Did you just ignore him? Did you like lock him in a closet somewhere and just like, yeah, watch film? Yeah, there's no monitor in there. LOL. Like it's just super weird. Like Wyatt Davis too. It's like you're playing converted offensive tackles over him. You're playing Blake Brandel for a snap after Oli Udo got moved over, or I think he was hurt at one point. Like
Yeah.
it was just insane. Like we're not going to play him. And why? Because he showed up overweight after you demanded big fat guys in the draft, word for word. That's exactly what you asked for.
Yeah, and
Like,
he's like, I'm here. I'm big and fat.
and there he's like, you're too fat. What?
Yeah.
Like, what? It just, yeah, the 2020 class, when you look back on it, like, I don't really know what to think of Cam Dantzler. Like, this year is going to tell us a lot, I think, about him, whether he's good or not. Like,
Defend the goal
obviously,
line.
Justin,
Defend the goal line, please.
he's learning slowly. Like,
Yeah.
some of us are a little
Still learning the game of
slower
football.
learners than others. But, Justin Jefferson, obviously, God mode. Ezra Cleveland, starter. KJ Osborne, probably the most improved player on the team. Like,
Yep.
there's no reason the Vikings can't have a couple of players step up and be adequate pieces. And this time with Kevin O'Connell, we know they'll have the opportunity. Hell, there will be rookies in the 2022 class that will have an opportunity to contribute.
For sure.
Like,
For
this
sure.
is going to be a team. That is what they want to build. And I think you just can't throw away a draft class because, oh, Zimmer didn't play anyone. Like, you got to look at the track record and at least give them a shot. And if things don't turn out well, I don't know. We didn't even mention Cam Bynum. Like, he looked good when he hit the field.
I know you had a question about someone who could take like a KJ Osborne kind of leap, and that was going to be my guy, Cam Bynum, because
Yeah.
I think in his limited opportunities last year, he showed some flashes that he could possibly even just be a week 1 starter next season, and I don't think anybody would really be surprised by that if Bynum was, an opening day starter for the Vikings next year, because when he was on the field, I think he might have got hurt a little bit last year. But he looked good when he was on the field. And I don't think you can say that a lot about Vikings rookies, especially on defense, especially in the secondary. So I'm curious to see what he does, and if his progression influences the Vikings, either re-signing Xavier Woods or bringing in another veteran safety. I think they might just go with Bynum, because one, he's cheap, and he's already been in this defense, I guess, sort of. But it depends what the new people want to do, because they could do whatever they want. They could turn him back into a corner, because that's what he was in college. So I'm curious, but I think he could be the guy. I think you mentioned somebody else who could take the KJ Osborne leap, right?
Well, I'll stay at the same position. I think it could be Amir Smith Marset. I mean, we could list Wyatt Davis too, but I think he's too obvious. I think Amir Smith Marset has a skill set to get deep in this offense. And like, look at the season finale against the Bears. He had 3 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown. And like, they talked to Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. They're like, oh, what'd you think of that? And they're like, we're not surprised. Like, he was doing this in practice all the time, which is, if that
I
was the
hate
case,
I hate when I hear that.
yeah, yeah.
Why is he
Well,
not on the
A,
field then?
practice is a little bit easier. And B,
Yeah.
why is he not on the field? Like,
Yeah.
is Clint just being like, oh, I don't know, maybe,
It's definitely not
here's
Clint.
been Mars
It definitely is
Zimmer.
not his decision.
Hey, Coach Zim, you think
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
yeah.
throw Mears and Smith are said shut up
Yeah.
and run the ball?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, man. I'm just
Pretty
gonna hit
much.
this button on my headset here. You can't hear me talk. I can't hear you. This
Yeah.
is great.
I'm gonna go back to the Broncos.
I
It's safe.
do you feel bad for him? Like Clint Kubiak?
Yes and
Like, I
no,
kind
because
of do.
no, because he was given a
Like,
great opportunity, but yes, because
yeah.
the opportunity he probably wasn't set up for success as best as possible.
I think it's like a lot of things on last year's team. I think it was a combination of factors. It was Zimmer and Clint Kubiak. It was Zimmer and Kirk Cousins. It was, it just kind of
Mhm.
Zimmer and Spielman. Like, it's not one or the other. It's a lot of different factors. But I mean, look at the new offense. Like, if the Vikings are really going to go full Rams, and they've shown every indication that they're going to, like,
Yeah.
they'll need receivers. Like, Amir
Yep.
Smith Marset could be a Van Jefferson. He could be
Yeah.
that deep threat that gets open.
Yep.
And Kirk or Malik Willis or whoever could just chuck the ball to him. And I think he could have a solid season. I'm not putting him as the next Stephon Diggs, but I think he can be very good. And if you get a quality number 2 receiver in waiting, like, shoot, I'd take one at 12 if you really want to. Get Drake London. That would be fun. Or second round, Christian Watson and ESU.
So they're just going to go full like old school 2000 Vikings and just load up on offense and have no defense.
That was so much fun, though. Like, I know they were 6-10, but like every game, there was one game, if you don't mind me going back in the memory banks,
go for it.
It was like Buffalo and the Vikings. And like, I think it was, what was it, Doug Christie? Was that the kicker's name?
Kicker?
I know Jeff Christie was a center.
Yep.
Doug Christie. I got the right one. He missed like 6 kicks. Like, it was unreal, like extra points, field goals, whatever. And like the game wound up being like 43-39 or something. And it might be a little bit high, but like it was just high scoring. Like Drew Bledsoe.
I was going to say, was that when Bledsoe was with the Bills?
Yeah. Like they weren't good either. And it was just back and forth. And like the Vikings wound up losing because all those missed kicks. But I mean, it was just fun. It's just like, yeah, we're just going to throw the ball to Randy Moss because you can't stop it. Like you could easily do that with Justin Jefferson. And the best part is you have a supporting cast that's better than the one that Moss had. So, I mean,
and the rules are a lot
blockers if you want to. Yeah.
And the rules cater to offenses way more now too. So I think I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I'm not going to be surprised because I think this is going to happen. I think there's going to be more of an emphasis placed on the offensive side of the ball for the Vikings, because that's the side that has the most advantage in the NFL. I don't think many people are going to argue against that. If you breathe on an offensive player and you're a defender, you're going to get flagged pretty much in the NFL today, and that you can't say that about Randy Moss's playing days as much. So I don't know. This week's gonna be fun. This month is gonna be fun. Then you got the draft. Like, yeah, it's gonna be fun. And the Vikings is a very interesting team. A lot of people are interested. A lot of people are paying attention to this team, curious what the Vikings are gonna do. I don't want to say we. I'm not on the team. I don't like when people do that. But yeah, I'm this week. I'm waiting for like a bomb to drop, like, and not from Ian Rappaport or Mike Garofalo. I'm tired of hearing from those guys like, oh, Kirk Cousins could be here for 5 more years. He could be with the Vikings. No,
they gotta work out the contract. They gotta work out the contract.
Yeah.
They love
him. That little important thing about the giant contract that he wants seems to be a little bit of a factor. Yeah, I don't want to hear from those guys. I like Tom Pelissero, but I think he only had like one report. The other guys have just been like, Kirk Cousins is staying. And everyone else is like, maybe not. So
maybe not.
That's what I got. Yeah.
But that is all the time we got for the Viking Age podcast tonight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, do all those fun YouTube things. And for Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad. We'll sign off and we'll talk to you on Thursday right here on the Viking Age podcast.